Hey guys, the Sloan Ranger here. I am at Martell Forest here in Tippecanoe County, Indiana today. One of our favorite places to come out here and get our hike on locally. But you know, this place has something like 7 miles of trails back here, and I've never done the entire thing all at once. I usually just like to come out here and do whatever I have time for. Could today be the day that I do the entire thing? Let's see. Martell Forest is about a 9-mile drive from the main Purdue University campus, located in western Tippecanoe County, Indiana. This is the location of Purdue's John S. Wright Forestry Center, which is a research, teaching, and extension facility operated by the Purdue Forestry and Natural Resources Department. It is not a public park. It has very limited parking and no public restrooms. But the university has made the trails available to the public, as long as they stay on trails, don't forage, and don't interfere with the research on the property. The park can be closed at any time, often for poor trail conditions after heavy rains, during student military training exercises, or other such events. The full trail is just over 7 miles in length, with many ups and downs along the bluffs and ravines for nearly 1,100 feet of elevation gain along the way. Now, if that's too much for you all at once, there are many places to get off the trail and take a gravel road in the Central Valley back to the trailhead. So as the signage here says, Purdue's Martell Forest is not a public park. It is a research forest for mostly Purdue forestry students. There's a lot of research that goes on out here, but we are fortunate that they open up their trails to the public most of the time. Now, sometimes they do close it for events, for special projects, and they have actually closed it at different periods in the past because people illegally collected mushrooms and such. So absolutely no foraging is allowed here. So you got to obey the rules or they will shut this place down to the public. So I feel fortunate that as a public person here in Tippecanoe County, I have this open to me. There is one main creek on this property. I want to say it's Indian Creek, but I could be wrong. Water looks a tad bit higher than in the past, but we have one real water crossing to worry about on the trail, so I guess we'll see if I have to get my feet wet then or not. So I'm going to be taking the trail that begins directly behind the forestry building here, and we go up the hill. Now, I personally find the northern half of these trails to be my favorite. They're a little more interesting to me, and not quite as tiring and repetitive, I guess you would say. Now, it is the beginning of May. This is May 2nd that I'm out here today, so we should still have a lot of spring ephemeral flowers and such blooming out here. So what makes the trails here at Martell Forest so unique in this part of our state is the terrain is more like what you would find in southern Indiana. More rolling hills, lots of ravines. And that is because these hills I am on are actually the bluffs of the Wabash River. Now, the river itself is probably 1 mile or 2 miles to the south of here. But there was a time after the Ice Age when a giant glacial lake was up in northeast Indiana, and it kind of broke free and washed down through the state, which created the corridor that the Wabash River flows through now. And we are on the side of what resulted. So down below me here, there is a small earthen dam that holds back that pond down there. And we will be getting much closer to it here in a little while, but we've probably got 1 mile or so to actually get down to it. Martell Forest isn't really that big of a forest. It's not the kind of place you would necessarily expect to have 7 miles of trails. But the reason for that is because the trail system goes in and out and in and out of all these ravines through here. Let me throw up a map real quick and show you what I mean. So you've got all of these trails that wind around. It almost reminds me of places that have mountain bike trails where they do their best with the land they have to extend the trails. And that's what they've done here through all of the ravines. And it's really cool, and it's a great place to train if you're trying to get in shape. So as mentioned, this is a research forest. So you will occasionally find areas where they are doing some kind of research. Here's a whole area there with these white PVC pipes. They most likely have something growing in them. And you are to stay away from them. Do not interfere with the research here. So, you know, over the years, I have made a lot of what I call Indiana hidden gems videos, mostly, you know, preserves in places that aren't necessarily well known. And a lot of times I catch flack for that because a lot of the locals don't want their little hidden gems to be known, don't want it to get super popular on social media. And I get that, but my little channel doesn't really have much of an effect. However, last year there was something that made Martell Forest absolutely blow up, and it was not me. My first video here in Martell Forest was some 5 or 6 years ago, and I did have a few locals telling me, shh, don't tell anybody. In 2025, there was a podcast. It showed up in my TikTok feed. I don't remember the name of it, but it definitely has like at least tens of thousands of viewers, maybe hundreds of thousands of viewers, where somebody had gone on there telling about Martell Forest. They said they knew a couple from the area who was training for a rim-to-rim hike at the Grand Canyon. So they were coming out here to Martell Forest to train for it. And they went on to tell how this terrain here is so hilly and so different for northern Indiana. And that podcast or TikTok absolutely blew up. And I noticed it because my old videos from here at Martell suddenly got a spike in views from people searching for it, searching about information for it. Now, I came out to Martell to go for a little training hike one day after that popped up, and the place was packed. The inside parking full, the little outside parking full, and cars, camper vans, all these travelers were lined up and down the road. The place was not ready for that. And frankly, I'm kind of surprised that Purdue didn't just shut it all down at that time. They did have to put signs out there for no parking areas and all that. So that happens. And I'm still seeing increased visitation here. Nothing like it was at that time, but yeah, we as content creators for the outdoors do have a little bit of a responsibility for the impact we have on these places. So here's where all that training comes into play. We've been to the top of this hill, and now it is time to go back down to the bottom of the ravine down below. And once we hit that creek, we go back up the other side again. And that's kind of what Martell Forest is all about. And that's why it's such a good place to come out and get some training in. I'm heading down this hill now. Fortunately, the soil is just soft enough that I'm probably not going to slide. Now that I'm at the bottom of the ravine, I'm noticing some different spring ephemerals. And we got some nice looking trillium in bloom. And of course, everything is just covered in mayapple. Back up on top of the hills again. We got us another view of that pond down below. We're close to it. Got some deer running from me. And it's not unusual at all to run across some deer. And just like that, we've made it down to the little earthen dam in the pond. Oftentimes I'll find ducks out here, but I'm not seeing anybody right now. We are back in the middle valley here in Martell. This is a valley that is completely surrounded by all of the hills. They look way smaller on my camera than what they really are in person. But out here is definitely some more of the research areas. So here I'm passing by another little research area. Last summer I saw them putting it out, but it's been here for a few years. But they stretched the plastic across all of those wooden trusses. My guess is they're used to collect whatever falls out of the trees, or maybe it's something completely different. And back into the woods. As you see, they do have trail signs, because it's easy to get confused out here sometimes, but you always just gotta look around to try to find one of these trail markers. All right, another hill to climb. Back to the top we go. Whew. Cheers to the heavy breathing hikers out there. I often like to say that I can walk for miles and miles and miles until there's a hill. But that's what we're out here for, training. Here's a small sample of something I always find interesting to find in the springtime. What you have here is bear corn. And it's got a lot of other names, but that's probably the most common that people use. It's actually something that lives off of the roots of, I believe, oak trees. So this here is possibly one of my favorite ravines on this trail. Down here follows this nice little creek, and it's so lush. Right now you've got all of the spring plants that are thriving. But come July, just 2 months from now, most of what you see right now will be gone and taken over by the summer plants, which are even far more lush. Back up the hill we go. So here the trail takes us right through one of their many projects. All right, we are now heading back down. This is probably the longest section of hillside to go down. And that's why I like going clockwise on this hike, because I do not like having to come up this long section of trail here. We are back down to the bottom in the valley area, but not for long. We're just gonna go just a short ways around the side here, and the trail will go right back up the hill over there. And like I said, right back into the woods we go. So this ridge top I'm on had a controlled burn not that terribly long ago. But look how all the greenery is coming back. You wouldn't even know anymore that it had been burned. You know, back down the hill we go. What goes up must come down, and vice versa apparently. Up and down. That is what makes this place unique. Otherwise, the forest here, you know, it's just standard Indiana forest. It's really not that special for most of us Hoosiers. You know, it kind of gets redundant. But these hills, these ravines, and the little creeks in them, that's what makes it special. So, for my regular viewers, you may be wondering why Caden isn't out here with me You know, this is a Purdue property, him being a Purdue student. Well, it's May 2nd, as I mentioned before, and this is finals week. He has 4 finals coming up this week, so he elected to stay home and study for those. Once he gets those done, he's got a couple classes he's doing this summer, then he's done. He's already out applying for jobs. So the Sloan Ranger, as I've been calling myself on my solo adventures, is going to become a much more common thing. We're right at about the 4-mile mark now. And this is where we come to the most major creek crossing here. This is the main creek that we saw at the beginning of the video. So we have to get to the other side. The water is definitely up. Usually you can just skip right across those rocks there. And it is not, I don't think it's going to be done without getting feet wet. I don't think I've got a choice. That one's even moving on me. Yep, here we go. Feet getting wet. Whee! Yep. I used to love getting my feet wet on these hikes. Nowadays I'm become more of a pansy. It's like the squishy feeling, I don't know. But here we go. We still have another 3 miles to do, so I guess I'm going to be doing it with my wet feet. Yeah, most of the time, throughout most of the year, it's slow enough you can just go right across those rocks without worrying about it. So I don't usually even think to bring some different like Crocs or something to cross in. Oh well, we used to do this all the time with wet feet. I'll survive. I do miss having Caden here because I'm sure he would be pointing out every plant along the way, telling me their scientific names, their genus, and all the stuff that I will never remember. Looks like we got some trees here. And dip under this one. Oh yeah. We got a slew of white trillium on the trail. So we're to the south of the main valley in the middle out there. That's one of the things that I really like here about Martell Forest is at any point, if you need to get off the trail and head back, cut your hike short, there are all these little offshoots where you can head back out there to the middle and go back. Or you can keep right on going on the trail. And basically you can piece together however long of a hike you want to do. Now, the one thing I don't like about the trail to the south of the forest is that the hills here are much steeper, less forgiving. Unfortunately, the trail builders that created these trails didn't believe in switchbacks, so they'd find a ridge and you just go straight up it. So that's what we're doing. And we're going to do it multiple times because it's up and down. Now there's a couple of Jack in the Pulpits right on the side of the trail here. I always love seeing those. So across this ravine here, that is the hill that we just climbed. We have made it around this ravine, and now we go back downhill. This is why this is such a good place to train. Now I know some of you are probably thinking, well, Mark, what are you training for? Well, nothing specific. You know, we kind of mostly took the winter off, and springtime comes and I always have to hit it pretty hard to get back in hiking shape again. Put on some weight, try to take it off, get my legs stretched out and going again. Plus, I'm hoping to still do some solo adventures this summer. I've been trying to plan a solo trip, no reservation style, going out to Wyoming and exploring some areas I've never been to. But that all depends, of course, on a lot of things, including gas prices. You know, they're currently $5 a gallon. If they stay there, I may have to change those plans, but you know, it's plans are always fluid. Back up through the woods and back down the hill. Here's something I don't see very often here in Tippecanoe County. So we got some columbine. You know, at the bottom of that hill, we have the popular area down here by the creek where it is much wider and much shallower. There's even a trail alongside of there that I don't remember, but it is definitely there. Yeah, anybody that comes out here walking their dog, this is such a great spot. If you got kids, you know, when Caden was little, this had been where he would want to stay the whole time, was at the edge of the creek or in the creek. He's not like that now, but he sure was when he was little. Such a beautiful area, and you can see why this part of the trail system is so popular. Heading back up. So at the top of this hill, there's just a loop that goes around this section of woods, which is all surrounded by farmland on the outskirts. And it will loop around and come right back down to that little bottleneck back there by the creek. Another huge area of forest research going on. Most of the time when I'm out here hiking at Martell, I actually skip the southern section of the trail. You know, I'm just usually on a time limit, so this isn't high priority. So I think this is only like the third time I've hiked this southern loop. But it does have some cool views. Looking down in the hills, it really does feel like southern Indiana out here. But then the trail pops up right beside a cornfield, and we are once again reminded where we're at in the northern half of Flatland, Indiana. And we're back to the research area on the side of this hill. But as you take in the view, there is just nothing about this that makes me think of Tippecanoe County, Indiana. This feels more like the bluffs down close to the Ohio River. Heading back down the hill we came up, back towards the creek. Now we came down from that area earlier. Now we head this way back. We're on the home stretch, but we still got some cool views ahead. Some more of those. It's always good seeing all these spring wildflowers out. You guessed it, more hills. Oh, one more push. I believe this is our final hill to get to the top of, and then we go down. Some of these ridges are a bit of a backbone, really. You got the drop off over here, and a drop off over here. It might be a ridge still, but I'm gonna call it a backbone just because. I am off the hills now. It is smooth sailing the rest of the way back. Well, guys, that in total was about 7.3 miles according to my personal tracker, and about this much elevation change. I don't know how much it was, but it is easily the most strenuous hike I have done. I can't remember since when, maybe since our Colorado trip in May of last year. Yeah, it was that tough just because of the constant up and downs. The height ain't that much, but when you're constantly going up, down, I'll tell you what, my knees are feeling it more than anything. Great training hike though. First time I've done the entire thing all at once. Cool place. If you ever here in the area, you want to get a little bit of training in, good spot for it. Till next time, Sloan Ranger out. Peace.